Good evening. This is Maestro Cortello with the Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite Modcast. Today we have a 2v2 on the 2v2 version of Argus Desert Gate. Our first player is DejaVu, playing as the Lord General. Look at his cigar. The Lord General is the only hero who is a squad. He has a retinue, gives him some extra damage, also gives him a lot of on-the-field durability because you can reinforce his members on the field. And he's a lot about supporting his allied units by buffing them with the many abilities that come from his warriors. His teammate is Enfury, playing as a Black Legion Sindri Trollface Chaos Sorcerer. Chaos Sorcerer is a spell-casting hero. Starts out with Doombolt, a very powerful, long-range damage spell. He also has a lot of teleporting capabilities. And he also has some abilities for control and manipulation, like Chains of Torment and Tome of Subjugation. On the other team, the red team, we've got a team full of Eldar. First of all, we've got MC Holyhammer in the house. He is playing as the Eldar Farseer. Got a little yin and yang going on. She is a support hero, support spellcasting hero. She has a lot of spells. She starts out with Guide for buffing the damage of an allied unit. And she can get many others that buff or debuff, some for control, like Psychic Storm and Mind War. And of course there is that big time field later on in the game, which is very, very powerful. Finally, we've got Boom playing as the Warp Spider Exarch. The Warp Spider Exarch is a teleporting Eldar hero, has dual Death Spinners to do range damage, as well as blades to do some melee damage, and does pretty well in both range and melee. He's got some interesting Tier 3 war gears. He's got the Shimmer Orb to protect an area from any outgoing or even incoming range damage, as well as the phase armor, which sets up a lot of high damage combos and is often annoys people. Now look at this early play right here. We've got, first of all, we've got no generators up for the blue team, and we've got Holyhammer, or Boom rather, taking advantage of that by getting a decap on one of the blue team's natural power. Now, we had some generators down for the red team, but I believe two of them have already been destroyed by these multi-laser turrets. We've got two multi-laser turrets, one set up to bash the generator farm. We've got another set up to protect the flank of the first multi-laser turret. And we've also got the sentinels right here. This is going to be a lot of range damage coming out, and most of the Eldar stuff is actually really going to have a lot of trouble with this. Now, if there was a Warlock on the field, this would actually be no problem. They would just buy the Immolator Blade, destroy the turrets one by one, and then those resource costs would be sunk. Interestingly, this multi-laser turret is doing no damage whatsoever to the power node. Not sure why that happens. We've got a Shuriken Cannon setting up right here, or it's not setting up, it's just moving around. Can possibly control the Sentinels, kind of limit their operating range, because the Sentinel does not want to get too close to a Shuriken Cannon. Although, well, still not really going to help out too much with the multi-laser turret, so it looks like, for the moment, the Eldar team is pretty much conceding this power farm, but it's not like it's going to be that bad for them. They lost some generators, they've got a full power farm over here. They've still got more of a power income than the blue team, even though the blue team is putting on all of this pressure on their power farms. But the blue team doesn't have a power farm of their own. Double Sentinels, of course. Now, the Sentinel doesn't really have... It's not really a high DPS unit. It does 30 DPS per Sentinel. And for only one Sentinel, that's really not that much. It's steady DPS over time. It constantly shoots, but that's pretty low DPS. Having two Sentinels puts it up to 60. That's suddenly not so low anymore. That's more than most of these single starting ranged units, and you can actually bleed models off of squads pretty quickly with two Sentinels. Here, since the multi-laser turret is doing no damage, it looks like the Sentinels were turning to bash. Now, the double Sentinel play, especially with only one Guardsman into double Sentinels, it's something I don't personally understand very well. I don't understand how it works when you only have one Guardsman to keep up with, to do repairs. And I guess part of what happens is that you do so much damage with two Sentinels that you force off a lot of squads before they can really put on the pressure to threaten two Sentinels. Basically, they force off your opponent before they really have a need to get repairs, although the repairs still coming in very slowly. We don't even have a Sergeant on this Guardsman squad right here. I don't know why DejaVu would be waiting on that Sergeant. He's got enough requisition, and if he's not going to get the Sergeant, then he should get some more generators, although it looks like there's a full power farm over here, and he would have to wait for the node. But still, that Sergeant at only 85... requisition should be a no-brainer upgrade. Alright, Now it looks like the red team is fully committing to take out this, to basically to ending DejaVu's early pressure, taking out both of the multi-laser turrets, and DejaVu very smartly calling out the double. He's just communicating to his teammate that he is getting doubled. This could potentially be bad news for the Guardian squad right here. They have apparently been hit by Doom from the Farseer, so that means the Farseer has the Doombringer. This is Holyhammer, one of my favorite players, even though he's known for his rage and bad manner, but he is quite an amazing player. But yeah, he's got the Doombringer on the Farseer. Some people just kind of abbreviate this to the Doomseer. Meanwhile, a Guardian weapon team was lost by Boom, because we have a Sorcerer upgraded with both the Sword of Flame and the Vestments of the Warp. This is more of an old school play for the Sorcerer, but it is also very bread and butter. That's actually a really bad situation for the Sorcerer, getting knocked down right in front of a Shuriken Cannon. The great thing about this, having the Sorcerer with this build, is that it'll often kill a lot of models, get them a lot of levels, and that contrasts with the more Doombolt-oriented play that is more common for Sorcerer players these days, hanging back and shooting Doombolts. The Doombolt play does have higher actual damage potential than a teleporting Sword of Flame Sorcerer, but the Sword of Flame Sorcerer is better at actually killing models and getting himself experience. We have more power pressure, and now the blue team actually does have a full power farm. Not surprising to see a bunker right here. I imagine it will be a repair bunker to support these Sentinels. And enfury actually has a double Chaos Space Marine play. I'm actually a little surprised to see that double Chaos Space Marine play. I feel like is not that strong with the Sorcerer, and particularly, it's definitely weaker with the Sorcerer than it is with other Chaos heroes. And I'd especially be scared about Banshees with double Chaos Space Marines, although if you can play his cards right, you might be able to do things like use the double Chaos Space Marines to focus down the Banshees, especially if he can control them with Doom Blast, and that might be a way of dealing with the Banshees. Otherwise, I usually prefer having two Heretics to Doom Blast the Howling Banshees. But blue team actually with the triple cap, so they've got a significant VP lead, 471 to 302, 299 as I speak. This is a terrible situation. Unfortunately, enfury, I'm guessing, has his attention over here. Will he get this Havoc squad out in time? A very close call, and he does actually retreat them there. But surprised to not see Holyhammer continue the chase. Holyhammer definitely would have gotten at least one more model, and I think there was still a possibility that he could have wiped out that entire Havoc squad. Setup teams, and especially Havocs and Devastators, which have power armor and are thus more vulnerable to the power melee damage of the Howling Banshees, are particularly vulnerable just against Eldar, because a single flank from Howling Banshees can result in a Havoc or a Devastator getting wiped. This is true for any heavy weapon team, but it's especially true for the Havocs and the Devastators, which take more damage from the Howling Banshees. Webway Gate is detected before it can even go up, and just a very easy kill. Actually, how was it detected? I guess he just walked close enough to it, because he doesn't have Aspiring Champion Heretics. And I think he should get Aspiring Champion on his Heretics, especially as long as he's only got one squad of Heretics. Wants to keep that one alive and make sure it is as tough as it can possibly be. No, this is Boom, but he's got the heavy gauge Death Spinner. I thought that was Holyhammer with the heavy gauge Death Spinner, because I've definitely been on the receiving end of Holyhammer's Warp Spider Exarch with the heavy gauge Death Spinner, and it is not fun. Unfortunately, this is now bad news for the Howling Banshees. This should and could be a wipe on the Howling Banshees. Some range fire from the Chaos Space Marines could potentially finish them off. Actually, it's the Sorcerer who might get in here, but he actually misses and doesn't quite get it. Maybe if he can get another teleport in, he does not have the energy. So blue team still looking really strong here, though, with 471 VPs to now 171 for the blue team. Double Shuriken Cannons setting up for Holyhammer. And we also have a double Wraith Guard. That is crazy. But, you know, I think it's a really good choice, considering Imperial Guard typically struggle with Wraith Guard. Usually the way they're going to deal with that is trying to get Ogrins, but then Ogrins are going to struggle a lot trying to charge in to tie up the Wraith Guard with so many Shuriken Cannons around. And by so many, I mean two. One Sentinel also went down as well, just staying around a little too long in the firing of that Guardian weapon team, so only one Sentinel is left. Meanwhile, we have some more pressure. Now the enfury is going to have a much easier time dealing with the Wraith Guard on his side, since he can just get his Sorcerer to teleport in with the Sword of Flame, and that should be good enough to tie up the Wraith Guard. Does some decent damage, although he still has to worry a lot about the Warp Spider Exarch with that heavy gauge Death Spinner. If anything, I would say the advantage there is still going to be for Boom in those engagements because of the heavy gauge Death Spinner. Such a good hero counter and single entity counter that the Sorcerer might actually not stand that much of a chance. So the bunker goes down and leaves quite a crater. And now the Wraith Guard are bashing at generators. Wraith Guard are a pretty interesting and unique unit. They are so powerful. They do both very high burst damage as well as very high DPS. And it's really like you can't even afford to even let them do anything. Otherwise they will like kill your squads if you're not reacting quickly enough. And you really, really need to tie them up, and especially jump units in particular are considered like essential for dealing with Wraith Guard. Unfortunately for the Imperial Guard, they are the only race to not have any kind of jump unit whatsoever. So that really puts them at a bit of a disadvantage, and they traditionally struggle a lot against Wraith Guard. We've got a Blood Crusher coming out from enfury, as well as a Chaos Dreadnought building. The Blood Crusher, I feel, still has to be careful. There are some Howling Banshees. Heretics now in a terrible position. Heretics might not make it out of there alive. It's a very close call, but there's some disruption now from a Creeping Barrage. Creeping Barrage also knocks down the Sorcerer and knocks him right in front of a Guardian Weapon Team. So that Sorcerer might actually be in a really bad situation. He's still getting hit by the Creeping Barrage, and he's actually getting shot to pieces by the crew members of the Guardian Weapon Team. Catachan Devils for DejaVu are upgrading to have their Sarge so that they can have a Melt-A-Gun. It gives them a little bit of extra AV, although, yeah, I mean, there is now a Wraith Guard out on the field, although otherwise I feel like that's not such an essential upgrade. It does also give them the ability to infiltrate if they are left idle. Ah, it looks like the Havoc was now finally killed, so no more Havoc for enfury, and Wraith Guard are another unit that it's pretty hard to keep a Havoc alive against. I don't see the Blood Crusher getting out of this alive. Actually, it's a pretty close call. Now we have a Khorne Dreadnought activating Blood Rage. Blood Crusher really needs to get out of there. It cannot really afford to stay in much longer against the Howling Banshees. The Banshees keep on getting knocked over, though, and that actually keeps the Blood Crusher alive, but now he's running in. Oh, and he runs in right into the Wraith Guard, but it looks like Boom also lost his Dire Avengers. Unfortunately, that Blood Crusher really needed to back off so that he wouldn't get shot by the range damage of the Bright Lance Wraith Lord. This Bright Lance is very good because it now does 100% fire on the move, so it's accurate. You've got it on a very tough mobile platform or a very tough vehicle platform. Not actually that mobile, pretty slow. Dreadnought might want to actually activate Blood Rage. Now the Khorne Dreadnought will have an advantage over the Wraith Lord in melee combat, even without Blood Rage, but might want to just activate Blood Rage anyway. Makes it better at chasing the Wraith Lord, as well as allowing it to do much more damage. It both increases the damage of the Dreadnought, as well as reducing the damage it takes. So, in any kind of... pretty much once you have your Chaos Dreadnought, or your Khorne Dreadnought in a position where it could or should commit to a fight, you should activate Blood Rage. Anyway, Sentinel's still alive, and you know what? He didn't even get the ground pound upgrade on this Sentinel. I don't think he had one on his first one either. But Catachan Devils, as well as Assault Kit Stormtroopers, doing a lot of damage from range against the Howling Banshees. Now, the Lord General does have the Sniper Rifle equipped, so that gives him the Fire on My Target ability, so he's going to be able to shoot at very long range with the Stormtroopers. And even the Catachan Devils are going to be doing, like, about as... they're actually going to have, like, standard range once the Lord General is using that Fire on My Target ability. What else does he have? He also has the Back in the Fight ability, the Armor Warrior for the Lord General, that allows him to restore health over time for his units. So that's one of the healing abilities of the Warrior. He also gets healing abilities from the Sergeant Retinue member, which he actually does have. That Sergeant is right there, right here, with the Las Pistol and the Chainsword, alongside those Stormtroopers and the Lord General. So he's constantly using that ability. I feel like the Stormtroopers might even be able to outrange the Guardian Weapon Team. And man, he's actually doing pretty well right now with this build. He's got double assault kit stormtroopers right now, so especially combined with the sniper rifle, as long as he can sight with a unit that has sight with a unit in front, possibly the Catachan Devils, like keep the Catachan Devils in front, the assault kit stormtroopers in the back. I mean, look at what a melee counter that is, and that's probably also going to be one of his answers to the Wraith Guard. The assault kit stormtroopers are going to outrange the Wraith Guard even without the Lord General using the fire on my target ability, but especially with the fire on my target ability, he can do a lot of damage to the Wraith Guard before the Wraith Guard can ever get in range of the Stormtroopers. He's also infiltrating the Stormtroopers to keep them hidden, so I think that's a pretty good answer to the Wraith Guard. And, oh, unfortunately, Khorne Dreadnought right here does not stand a chance unless he's going to teleport it out of there. Pretty close call, but doesn't do it. Oh, he doesn't have the red to teleport it out of there. So enfury now not looking so strong. He actually at one point did have 6 units. That was back when he had his Blood Crusher, still had the Khorne Dreadnought, still had his Havocs and his Heretics. Now all he has are he's still got his double Chaos Space Marines. No mark yet. Actually, oh, one's got a mark, one doesn't. We've got the Mark of Khorne on one of them. That's a curious choice. Mark of Khorne, generally considered not so good of an upgrade for the Chaos Space Marines. I like it in certain circumstances, but it definitely lacks the versatility of the Mark of Tzeentch, and it's also made exclusive to such a great ranged upgrade when Chaos already has so much melee but not enough ranged units. This could actually be bad for this Guardian weapon team. Just the damage from the Stormtroopers. Alright, the Lord General does have his retinue back up, but instead of the Sergeant, he's now got the Vox Operator. So a Vox Operator right there. The Vox Operator increases the speed of the Lord General, as well as, oh, here's another creeping barrage. And that's actually, if he focuses on those Rangers, he should take out the Rangers. And yes, he does take out the Rangers. Alright, but anyway, there's actually an example of that ability. The Vox Operator. I don't know that it was actually that necessary there. I don't think he had that many things to reinforce. I think it just looked like he did because he didn't have much health on the things that he needed to reinforce. Wraith Guard now in quite a bit of trouble, and actually they're probably going to get wiped. Now, if there's one thing Khorne Space Marines are good at, they're actually pretty good at wiping things on retreat. And I think especially given how slow Wraith Guard are, the Khorne Space Marines would actually be really good for wiping Wraith Guard on retreat. Now, it looks like Holyhammer still has his Wraith Guard. Boom lost his, which is a good thing for enfury. We've also got some Dark Reapers, so we've got that massive range spam build, and I mean, look at how many models just died so quickly on those Guardsmen, and they have, like, no health. He's really relying a lot on the Stormtroopers to be able to do a lot of high DPS from long range. But a Spirit Stone's heal from the Farseer are going to keep these guys, keep all these units in the fight. And if anything, I think it's time for the Stormtroopers to back off. And alternatively, although the Stormtroopers have long range, the Farseer can also use the Guide ability to increase the range of the Wraith Guard. Oh my! We have a heavy turret right here. This is actually an Executioner turret. Unfortunately, it's probably going to get destroyed as much as it was doing some really nice damage to both the Wraith Guard and the Dark Reapers. I don't think he's going to be able to force these Howling Banshees off of the heavy turret fast enough. The heavy turret goes down. Howling Banshees now at level 3 are no joke. Boom's Howling Banshees are level 2. His do not have an Exarch. I think he really should get that Exarch. Makes the squad a bit tougher, as well as more ridiculous at doing damage, just more ridiculous at what it does. And this is actually now not such a good situation for Boom. I think in part because the Howling Banshees were forced off, so that gives both the Heretics as well as the Chaos Space Marines a lot of free reign. This should actually be the end of the Wraith Lord. However, he does need to be careful about the Blood Crusher. Yeah, he should use the Worship, have the Blood Crusher go invisible, or at least just get away so that it's not taking too much damage. Otherwise, he's going to lose it. I feel like that was a very unnecessary loss. He was already in a winning situation there. He did not have to trade his Blood Crusher for the Wraith Lord. He could have backed the Blood Crusher off and finished off the Wraith Lord with the Bloodletters as well as the Khorne Space Marines. Meanwhile, VPs are actually evening up quite a bit. 226 to 42, so not quite the VP lead we saw before, but blue team still in the lead. Heavy turret, a new heavy turret. This one just as a regular battle cannon right now. And man, we got a crazy engagement right here. Lord General is undoubtedly going to go down. We've also got missile launchers going in from the missile launcher Sentinel, finally upgraded, and at level 3. And you know what? I think it still does not even have the ground pound upgrade. Because I think with the ground pound, it would have 947 health. Oh, that sync kill from the Farseer. Farseer actually still in here and actually has quite a bit of health. She should be able to use Spirit Stones to make her last even longer. But it looks like Holyhammer did lose a squad, and we've got a Summoning Circle Global from the Sorcerer. That's going to help, well, it's going to help just do damage to all of these squads right here. There's nothing to actually reinforce, and that's normally the reason you, or that's one of the reasons you want to use that global. Anyway, oh, this Dire Avenger squad isn't being attacked by all those Bloodletters, neither the squad Bloodletters or the ones coming out of there. So a missed opportunity could have wiped a Dire Avenger squad. As it is, it's still alive. And a double cap again for the blue team, with the red team really running out of time now. This is now a really bad situation. A washout from the Howling Banshees could be really bad news. We did have some disruption from the Catachan Devils to try to keep the Howling Banshees at bay, but some of the Stormtroopers managed to get disrupted as well. Both these Stormtroopers at 3 out of 5 models. The Lord General on the ground. And it's a single cap for the blue team at 199 VPs. Only 7 left for the red team. Going for the cap on this point right here. And all we've got left is a Warp Spider Exarch. He's going to get the decap off at 199 to 3 VPs. And it's up to the red team to try to hold the VPs. They really, at this point, they can't afford to let the blue team ever have more control of more VPs than they do, or it will be the end of the game. So they're in a very tenuous, precarious situation. They really need to maintain their field presence. Because once they're off the field, that's when the game ends. Meanwhile, they've got to stay on the field for a long time in order to hold that ground. We've got an Autarch called in. Doesn't actually hit much. Actually comes very, very close to wiping out that Stormtrooper squad. Meanwhile, the Autarch actually doing quite wonderfully. And double Howling Banshees going in together as a team. This is a terrible situation. The Sentinel does not have the ground pound, so it could not do anything right there. Although it's amazing how long he managed with that Sentinel, having no ground pound whatsoever. Never even apparently needed to use it throughout the course of most of the game. Now, wow, we're actually, I mean, it's pretty late into the game. I don't know what the time span is, but we must be at like at least 15 minutes, if not close to 20. Nobody is in tier 3 at all. Holyhammer is the only one who can go to tier 3. Boom's actually somewhat close, and DejaVu and enfury are pretty much not. I don't think they will get to tier 3, but actually it's about to be a triple cap for the red team, and if anything's going to put them back into the game, that's going to be it. Because once you get a triple cap, VPs start ticking down really fast. We got a new Corn Dreadnought out for enfury. It's an interesting upgrade, or actually it's not that surprising considering, well, the Eldar team is still stuck in tier 2. Certainly, I'd be afraid that if I were the Sorcerer in this case, like I would be afraid that my opponents would already be in tier 3, and then the Corn Dreadnought would be in a bit of trouble, to be honest. Grenade goes in, but we have enfury paying attention, and he actually closes for melee. Look at all the range damage they're doing on approach with their plasma pistols, as well as that melta pistol. So we've got Corn Chaos Space Marines. They're about to walk into Banshees, though, and that's not a fight that they want, especially not with them at half health, the Banshees at full health. And VP is now actually really, really close. This is anybody's game at this moment. I think it's pretty much just going to be about who wins the next engagement, or, well, at least maybe this engagement, maybe the next 2 engagements. The blue team might still have another engagement in them. But the heretics need to stop worshipping so that they can actually attack those Howling Banshees. And Sorcerer's going to go down. 57 to 3 now, with Howling Banshees getting forced off. Howling Banshees actually in a lot of trouble. A model gets sync killed by the Dreadnought. Now we have the Wraith Lord going in for a melee with the Corn Dreadnought. The Corn Dreadnought needs to turn around and commit, use Blood Rage instead of getting shot by the Bright Lance. This DejaVu actually calling a GG though, and we have this. I mean, it's actually a double cap again for the red team, and the blue team doesn't look like they're going to be able to get out in time to take it. Return Dreadnought goes down. Looks like we had another Dreadnought, or did we? No, that was just a interface bug, because that happens whenever you use the Summoning Circle global in the replays. But that was actually the win for Holyhammer and Boom. Quite a comeback. Pretty amazing and immaculate play towards the end there. Hope you enjoyed the cast. Have a good night.